Hey, I just got your text. What's the emergency? Yeah, I need you to play ice hockey with me. I can't do it by myself. That's your emergency? Well, yeah, I can't play it by myself. I need someone else to play it with. Okay, fine. Give me the controller. Here you go. Okay, you are going down, but this isn't an emergency. Monster Truck Madness is an awesome racing game for the Nintendo 64 that oftentimes gets overlooked. There's a ton of cool things that you can do in this game, but the best thing about this is the multiplayer. This is a Nintendo 64 exclusive and was never released on another console. I really love how this game plays, but the racing aspect of it isn't too awesome if you're playing single player. You don't really want to do that too much, but if you're playing multiplayer, this can be a ton of fun. You can either race with the exhibition, the battle practice, or the circuit. And honestly, the battle practice is where it's at, but there's other modes we gotta talk about here. The racing is pretty simple, whether it's the exhibition or the circuit. You either go through one map at a time in the exhibition, or you race a series of tracks together in that circuit. Once you pick the game type, you can actually pick what time of day you're actually racing, whether it's during the day, at dusk, at night, or pitch black, or even random if you are into that, as well as the weather aspect, which is clear, rainy, snow, or fog, or the random as well. This is a ton of fun and can definitely change the game, but it doesn't necessarily make this game worth racing. The racetracks are pretty basic, and overall there's nothing really to write home about when it comes to the maps themselves. And the racing, it's hit or miss depending on how you're playing it. If you're a single player and you're just racing through the game, it can be a headache and definitely not something you're going to want to pick up and play all the time. However, if you are playing with a bunch of friends in multiplayer, that's where this game kind of takes it to the next level. The racing aspect is weird and wacky, which makes the physics also weird and wacky, because when you hit a car or a monster truck, you might go flying, they might go flying, it depends on how you hit them. But overall, it can really change the outcome of the race, which could be either awesome or annoying depending on which aspect you are on, as well as the racetrack itself has a few extra special tasks in it, which are basically items where you can either shoot things, you can jump faster, go invisible, drive faster. There's a ton of little special items throughout the racetrack that you can get that definitely changes the game, kind of giving that Mario Kart type feel, but not quite, to be honest with you, because there's not enough of them to really make a difference in the map. But once you blow someone up or you nuke them, it's really fun to see their monster truck go flying. It's always funny to do that. So that aspect of it is kind of fun, but you can also tell where they took their influences from Mario Kart, where you see this. Now, I will say, I'm not really a big fan of the racing portion of this game. It's just kind of clunky and doesn't control very well. But where that kind of benefits this game is where you're playing battle practice. Either ice hockey, soccer, you can play the Summit Rumble, chase, or tag, and these are all very special, kind of unique, different modes, and they're a ton of fun. Soccer is what you can think of Rocket League. It is with a soccer ball, you've got a goal, and each player is trying to score in the opposing goal. At the same time, with the physics being all over the place, it definitely makes this like a ton of fun to play, especially when you're bumping your friend out of the way and you go and score. It's just all awesome there. And the hockey is pretty much the same. However, the soccer ball is switched out to a puck, which is actually a monster truck wheel. And the ice actually has a little bit more of an effect on your monster truck. You're sliding around a lot more, so it's a lot more difficult to score while playing hockey than it is compared to soccer. But nonetheless, both of these are fun. Then you have chase and tag, which are pretty much the same, but a little different. Chase is where one of you is a cop and one of you is a robber, and you're trying to escape each other, or trying to escape or catch the other one if you're the cop. And tag is pretty much what you could think of. You play to either a point or a time period, and you try to basically run into the other vehicle, and then once you do that, they are now it and they are chasing you. So you get points based on if you're it or not. So that is an actually pretty fun aspect of this as well. With the multiplayer, it can get pretty wild in a really short amount of time, and it's a ton of fun. But my favorite and probably the best part about Monster Truck Madness 64 is the Summit Rumble, which is an interesting and weird kind of take of King of the Hill. You are right in the middle of an NWO match where you're basically trying to stay on top of the ring as long as possible in the white square where you get points. If you get knocked off onto the ground, you don't get any points, and you actually subtract points every second you're on the ground. Or if you are on the mat but you're not in that square, you kind of just don't lose points and you don't gain points. So it depends on what you're trying to do there. But if you hit someone hard enough, your car could go flying, their car could go flying, and it could be a ton of fun. And you can also get to where you have all 4 monster trucks on there at once trying to bounce each other off and everything. And it can get pretty crazy. You can actually get hit hard enough to where you kind of bounce underneath if you miss up. And you don't want to get underneath because it's a lot harder to get back on top. But this is one of those games that I think it's one of those games that people don't talk enough about. And I think there is reasons, because if I picked this up and just played it by myself, it's not really all that fun, but multiplayer is where Monster Truck Madness really shines, and you can definitely tell if you pick it up with your friends, slap it in a Nintendo 64, and really get to playing, you'll definitely enjoy it, and it'll be something you will not regret. It's actually a pretty cheap game. I think it's under 20 bucks. I haven't looked it up in a while, but it's a game that you can find pretty much anywhere because people don't play it, and it's cheap. It's definitely well worth picking up, but depending on what kind of gamer you are, you may or may not want it. As someone who just plays by themselves a lot, this is probably a game you could pass on, but it is a game that's a ton of fun with multiplayer, and I think that's really where it shines. And if you didn't know, it's actually a Rockstar game, which I thought was pretty interesting. I forgot that it was a Rockstar game until I started talking about it, but this is definitely a ton of fun, and I think if you play this game, you will enjoy it and you will not regret it. So go ahead and pick this up if you got a Nintendo 64, or if you're looking to grow a collection, this is one that for cheap you can pick it up, play it with your friends, and you'll definitely enjoy it. But it's one of those that depends on how you want to play it. But I'm getting out of here, so check that video out. It seems like this is a game that I would like to see more people talk about, but at the same time, I kind of understand why they don't, because if you're playing this by yourself, it's a very forgettable game. But I'm getting out of here, so check that video out if you haven't already.